So welcome to another Thursday on the Pagan Perspective. I'm your Thursday host, coming to you live in my super fluffy bathrobe. And this week we are talking about love, marriage, and the relationship between men and women. So our topic comes from Lola Katsumi, and they write, "Hi, wanted to know, could you do a view on how pagans view love and marriage? What are the differences when it comes to religions and majority beliefs? Do pagans view the husband and wife as equal? I know the goddess Lillith did, but do pagans see women to be submissive to the man being on top of everything, as in protection, money, and things people say that's not a woman's role? A lot of time, my friends and I get in an argument. I feel men and women are equal. That he is my protector, I am his protector, and so forth. I hate how this view is put on young girls. Maybe I just see things differently from them. I'm going to be looking up books and articles on this. I hope to see videos from both pagan men and women perspectives. Thanks so much." So there's a lot to this topic. And thinking about it, it seems to me like there's three topics within the topic. And those are the relationship between men and women, love, and marriage. And of course, with any topic that asks, what do pagans believe or view, I can't answer that as a whole. I can only speak to what my specific family, what my household is a pagan household, and how I was raised as a pagan. Because pagans are a huge bunch of different people and have many, many different beliefs. So I'm going to go ahead and approach it from, what do we believe? And the first I'm going to start with, which is the relationship between men and women. And we, my partner and I, are very much feminists. Now that does not mean that we think women are better than men. What it means is that we believe no matter what genitals you have, no matter what chromosomes, no matter what gender you identify with, or what type of person you're attracted to, you shouldn't have an advantage or disadvantage in society. You should be treated equally. That those things shouldn't have a role in how you're treated. And you should be free to choose any role you want to play. You shouldn't be limited just because of one of those features. So that's very important to both of us. Also, not only feminism, but we really believe that about pretty much anything about humans, be it race or country of origin or anything like that. We believe that people should be treated equally. Now, of course, sometimes beliefs can kind of slip in unconsciously that come from the culture that we're from. And like most cultural beliefs, they're things that we're not aware of. Most of the things that we have been taught to believe, and not just we as in my partner and I, but everybody, we're not aware of. And so sometimes attitudes and beliefs slip in that we don't like, and we try and catch those and really examine whether those fit with what we want to believe, and work at changing those when they do come up. Now, that's going to tie in to the rest of the topic, because my partner is male. He's a heterosexual cisgendered male, if you're curious. And I'm pretty much the opposite except female, right? Being cis female, that is. And so our relationship is a relationship between a man and a woman, even though, I'm a pretty butch individual. I have my femme side as well, and the same for him. So anyways, I'll get into it. Starting with what do we think about love, or what do I think about love? And I'm speaking from my opinions and my understanding of his opinions, and it's things that we've actually talked about a lot and influenced each other's beliefs on. But first off, love is not something that happens to you. Love is something that you choose, and love is something that you do. Often in our society, we confuse lust and love. And it's awesome when those two overlap, but they're not the same thing. It's easy to become attracted to somebody. That's a biological thing that happens. Whether it's because of a particular body part, or it's a reaction that one has to a social behavior like wittiness or dominance, or whatever it is that the person is attracted to. That happens, there's a chemical response. Love, although one could argue that probably oxytocin is involved, is something that we do and choose over and over again. Now, marriage, ideally, from my idea, should involve love, but that's not all that it is. Marriage is many different things. The big things that it is, though, is an emotional interaction or emotional relationship between individuals, a social structure in terms of a family structure, and also it's an economic relationship or an arrangement. So for us, going to the emotional, what it's about is about nurturing each other. It's a partnership, which is why we call each other partners, even though I suppose the technical for us at this point term would be fiancé. We've lived together for years, and only recently decided to sign papers because of the, pretty much because of being on each other's health insurance and taxes. But for us, it's about that, taking care of each other and helping us to be as happy and fulfilled as possible. And none of that martyr shenanigans, because you can't take care of somebody if you're not taking care of yourself. So on an emotional level, that's what it's about for us. Now, there's also the economic element, and I don't think that those should have been mixed in the first place. In the United States, we have this thing called separation of church and state. And I believe that the economic part of marriage, in terms of the outside economics, not home economics, should be civil unions for everybody, no matter what sex you are or aren't, and leave the social and religious aspects to the society and religion, not the government. But anyways, there is that, as it stands, the economic relationship. Now there's also the home economics. And this is coming from, every culture handles marriage, those that have, and the argument that every culture traditionally had marriage is not particularly strong. I actually put a link below to a really interesting book called Sex at Dawn. I don't remember the subtitle of the author, but I'll put a link below and you can check it out. It's really fascinating, that talks about marriage in general. But anyways, we come from our culture's heritage is from a Western European, where the family unit, or the small social unit, was basically a husband, a wife, sons, daughters, and sometimes extended family members beyond that. And roles or functions that had to be carried out would be assigned to these different people based on what role they were in. And the role would be based on physical characteristics, like whether you had a vagina or a penis, right? So today are a lot looser. We don't always have those structures. But those functions are all things that still have to happen. People still have to eat, so we've got to either cook or buy the prepared food. The cleaning still has to happen. The tire still has to get changed on the car. The cat has to be fed, and the litter box has to be changed, and all of those things still have to happen. And so marriages can be a way in which those roles are assigned. In our relationship, in our marriage, we consider it a marriage even though we have not signed the papers yet. For instance, I do most of the cooking, but he does almost all of the cleaning and the laundry. And at the same time, whenever there's anything, I'm very handy. I grew up in job sites, so I can fix almost anything. If there's any manual labor to be done, there's moving boxes or, fixing the leaky faucet, that's something that I do. We both bring in money financially. At the moment, he does a little bit more than me. In the past, I did more than him. I'm a little bit more career-driven. He's a much more charismatic, way more social person than I am. I would say he has far more empathy than I do. Not that I'm a uncaring person, but that, one of his real strengths is that he's just a very, very loving and giving person. And as you can see, a lot of those are very mixed up roles. For us, we're a couple that do a lot of communication. We sit down and we talk with each other about how we feel and how things made us feel. We're real big on I feel statements and really being careful about productive and respectful communication. And we try and catch each other and be aware of where our actions and beliefs are coming from. And for us, as I mentioned before, we really believe that somebody shouldn't be limited just because of what organs or gender they are. So we work very hard at splitting roles based on how we feel and what our strengths are, as opposed to just an arbitrary decision that, well, that's women's work and that's men's work. That's not what we believe. In terms of where beliefs come from, I think that often they're very much products of our cultures. In many ways, we are quite typical early millennials, early being coming from the 80s as opposed to the 90s. And a lot of the patterns that we display, I think, are quite common to people of our demographics. But also there's quite a bit of unique bits that come from our families as well. In terms of other pagans that we know, most are same-sex couples, but there still is often kind of the femme-butch dynamic that happens there. And I would think that actually we're a little bit more balanced in general than most of our other pagan friends. But in general, I think that there's a strong movement towards trying to be as equal as possible and not limit people based on what organs we have. So that's something that I really appreciate and believe in. So I guess this has become a really long video. It's a big topic, and sharing a lot about our personal life in there. So I hope that gives an insight. Again, I can't speak to all pagans, but I can just speak to the way that that we are, and the way that I was encouraged to be by my upbringings. So let us know what you guys think in the comments below. Subs week next week, and I'll be back next month. All right, take care.